Hello everyone, and welcome to your training on the Village Path application for children in motion therapists. Today I'm just going to be going over your clinician dashboard and some of the things that you need to keep in mind when interacting with parents when it comes to their child's care through the Village Path application. Basically what the Village Path application is it's a paid subscription service app that we are offering to children in motion families to help increase the value of care that their child is receiving at Children in Motion. There are 2 tiers, and we're going to go over all that in today's training. First of all, I want you to be familiar with how your clinician view works and everything in this application. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. Up at the top, after you sign in, you should see this section here that says Clinician View. This means you're logged in as a clinician and you are not logged in as a parent. Next is Watch Tour. This is where you'll be able to find this current video if you ever need to reference anything in this app or forget about something that's here. You have this bell for notifications. This will be an important part of your role as the therapist on the Village Path app, as it will notify you when you have new messages coming in from parents that are a part of your caseload. So it's important to check this notification bell and make sure you're not missing any notifications. You also have a settings button. When you click this, this is how you will be able to enable your SMS MFA, which is basically just 2-factor authentication. Although this application is considered HIPAA compliant, we do always say try and keep as much PHI out of your communication with parents as much as possible unless it's absolutely necessary. We don't want to be sharing things that don't necessarily need to be shared or aren't a part of the conversation. Just always keep HIPAA compliance in mind and only focus on the PHI that matters. Down here, you'll be able to see unassigned parent screeners. So what will populate here is as soon as we get a new screener, or basically the application's version of an evaluation, it will show up here and you will be able to take the assigned screener and add it to your current caseload. Now, in the screener, the parent will be answering questions that are related directly to their child's needs. So this could be anything from speech issues, physical therapy issues, occupational therapy issues, and feeding therapy issues. So once they complete that screener, it will show up here. Over here on the right, we will see a section that says Manage Events. When you click on this, you will be able to create an event and workshop, as well as send the URL link. Most likely it will be either a Zoom link or a Google Meet link. Typically you won't have to worry about this. This is something that the administrators on the app will handle, but it is here in case for whatever reason you are going to run a workshop for families or parents that are a part of your caseload. We have this evidence-based learning tab. And what this is when we open it, it opens an external website that goes to openevidence.com. And this helps clinicians and therapists and doctors and professionals all around the US and other parts of the world gather evidence and medical journals that help back up the science for what they do. So now we're back at the Village Path app. So we just looked at the evidence-based learning tab. We also have this Add Child section. This is when you'll add another child to your caseload after you get an unassigned parent screener up here. Don't worry about this yet. You'll figure it out as you go through the screener. Looking at your caseload, you can see that this example account has 15 children on the caseload and 8 goals in progress. So you can also see the children here that need attention, and you can see your total caseload down here. These are all example children here. For example, let's click into child 6. So looking at child 6 here, we can see the age of the child, 4 years and 11 months. We can see the therapies that this child is signed up for. That would be speech, physical, occupational therapy, and feeding therapy. And we can see the assigned clinicians right here. If this is your child, your email will appear right here under assigned clinicians. You can also edit any child info, Up here, say you need to change the child's name, their date of birth, when their evaluation was, and when their most recent plan of care was. You can update that all here. So looking down here, we see the goals section. So here you can add different therapy goals for the child. So these are just some example goals here. And these goals should all be based on what was given to you in that initial evaluation that the parents filled out when they created an account. So this goal says we'll use 3 to 4 word sentences to make requests or share ideas in 80% of opportunities. This one says we'll be able to hop on 1 foot 5 times consecutively without losing balance. It's important that you come in and add these goals as you go through that initial evaluation, or screener as we're calling it on the application. You can also do a drop down here and see which goal needs to be put in for which therapy. So for example, if you are a speech therapist, you would select speech therapy, and then you can add a speech therapy goal by going here. The cool thing about this is it gives you some example goals right here. And then you can do a custom goal as well. You can also select the therapy. For example, you're a speech therapist, so you would put speech therapy here. You would put their target date and then in progress. Once the goal is achieved, you can then come back and put achieved. So we'll go ahead and let's add a goal real quick. We'll just go ahead and say one of these ones here. We'll take the appropriate conversational turns with a peer for at least 3 exchanges. So let's say we read through the forms and the paperwork, and we want to lower their goal to 2 exchanges. We can edit that here in this custom goal section. So you can change the template goal into a custom goal by changing things around however you want to do it. And then you can just go ahead and hit add goal. So that's the goal section here. Moving on to milestones. Now, you're not really going to be adding anything for these milestones here, but because the child is 4 years and 11 months old, you can see that according to the CDC and AAP guidelines, 4 years is already opened here. And you can see that the parent has already come in here and checked off 3 boxes. So their child enjoys doing new things, plays mom and dad, is more creative with make-believe play, but they would rather be by themselves than play with other children. They didn't check that one off. So this is also a good thing for you to come in and see what the parent is gauging on their end as far as their child's developmental and gross motor milestones, which will appear here. You can also add your own milestones if none show up in the list. All of the ones in here, though, are based directly on the CDC and AAP guidelines. Looking at the screener here, we can see that the parent screener was sent to this email address, which is the parent's email address, as well as the time here. The screener will also show the answers that the parent has provided to the questions. So for example, does your child have difficulty with fine motor skills, writing, buttoning clothes, etc.? The parent answered yes. So this is something to keep in mind when creating goals and milestones for this child, is that they struggle with fine motor skills. So go through this screener and this is how you'll get your goals. What we are asking our therapists at Children in Motion to do is to use the milestones and the screener that the parents fill out to create goals and home practice and documents. We want to give you 2 weeks to get that all done. So any exercises, goals, documents, maybe food logs, any of that stuff, you'll have 2 weeks after the parent submits it to get that all in there so that the parent can come in and see what you as a licensed therapist thinks is best for their child. There is an AI session note here. This would be helpful if you had a video call with your child's parent. You could turn this ambient session on and it would record the session or the call and take notes for you. Again, please do not rely on AI for your notes for 100% of them. Always go back and read whatever notes the AI is saying. adjust things around. Remember, you are the professional, you are the therapist. It is your words, your goals, and your actions that matter when it comes to this child's care, not the artificial intelligence. So under the session notes section of this app, you can import notes and other things from Simple Practice directly into the app. You can also move any AI session notes down here into this section as well. And this is a good way to compile all the notes that you have on this child. For example, say you see this child in the clinic as well as have them subscribe to this app, because there's a good chance that will probably happen. It will be important for you to be able to see the child's notes in therapy, which are available on Simple Practice, as well as the child's notes in here that you might have taken when doing a video call with the child or their parent. So all of those things will be important to have here. We also have an AI evaluation section here. This will allow you to generate an evaluation. There's different templates you can choose from. For example, there's an OT evaluation template, a PT one, and an SLP one. So say you're doing an official evaluation with this child in the clinic, you could come in here, create a template, add all the necessary info that you need to in here, and you can save it. And then you can start the ambient session while you're doing that eval, or you can even use this as a resource for when doing a video call with a parent if it's more of a evaluation kind of thing. I would probably most likely just stick to the session notes for that version, but all of this is really up to you and your discretion and what you think will be best for the child. And again, just like the session note section, any evaluations from Simple Practice you can import here, as well as any evaluations that you may do in this app. This next section is nice because it's the food section. So as far as you are concerned with the food, you're going to rely heavily on the parent and the child doing work at home, and then sharing that work and that data with you. For example, I see here that the parent added white rice as a food that this child recently tried. And they left a little note that said, child didn't mind food on the table, but wasn't ready to taste it. So what you would do is log it in your notes and create more goals and milestones to help the child based on this. You can also add your own entries. For example, if you worked on foods in the clinic, or maybe it was like over a video call or whatever with this child, you can log it for yourself in here. And this will just keep a good log of all the different foods that the child is trying. Under home practice here, this is where we create the specific goals that you will set for the parent and child to work on at home. For example, we see the different goals that we have here that we've already established early on. We'll use 3 to 4 word sentences to make a request or share ideas in 80% of opportunities. So this is the goal that we talked about earlier up here in the goal section. Now let's come up with a home practice idea. So you can add an activity, you can add a description, you can add any materials that might help with this activity, and you can upload a video from YouTube or any other URL. You can add images and upload other documents. And these are all ideas and home practice homework, if you will, that the child can work on. These aren't necessarily exercises because we'll get into the exercise section later. These are more geared towards activities that your child and their parent can work on when they are away from the clinic. On the communication tab, again, I really want to emphasize this. Do not include any PHI in your messages. While this feature is HIPAA compliant, it's best to keep out all PHI unless it's absolutely necessary. In this communication section, you can include a care log. Please generate care logs as often as you can, as often as you feel like makes sense for the child you're working with, and share them with the parents so that they can see any progress that a child may be seeing, or maybe some areas that the child is still struggling with and that they need to work on. Under the messages section, you can see different contacts. These would be people that are parents that are part of your schedule. So we can see we got this new message from Tyler here, and he says, child sat by rice today, refused to eat it, but had no problem being near it. You can then reply to the message and say, awesome, let's try some different foods. Pretty basic example, but you can, again, it's like it acts like any chat service, so you can chat back and forth via messaging through this app. There's also a booking section. So what you'll do here is you'll create an available slot for yourself. You'll pick the date, the time that you're available, and you'll create that slot. It will show up in your available slot section. Once the slot becomes available, parents can come in and pick that slot, and they will have a video call or just a regular call with you to go over any questions or concerns they have about their child. We don't want parents to just feel like they can call you whenever they want. That's why we've put this feature in here where you can set the terms for these calls and you can make yourself available on your own time. There's also a video update section. This is our walkie-talkie section, if you will. And I want you to think of this kind of like the app Marco Polo, where you can send a quick video message and it will directly send it to the parent on your caseload. They can then send a quick video message back, and essentially you're walkie-talking or Marco Poloing back with each other, and it will keep a log of all these video messages here. This can be good if a parent is trying to express something to you in a message, but they have a hard time visualizing it through words, so they can just show it to you in a video message. So we have that feature as well. Only tier 2 subscribers, so the more expensive tier, will have access to this communication section. So please keep that in mind as well with any parents that are subscribed to the Village Path application. You will not be able to communicate with them on the app unless they are a tier 2 subscriber. In this section, you can drag and drop any files or documents that you feel like would benefit the child and the child's parent that you're working with. A lot of parents really want to be in the know when it comes to what their child is facing in their day-to-day life as well as their therapeutic journey. And so they may ask for some evidence-based documents, or maybe like a document that talks about why this food is scary to their child, or maybe it's a game. Anything you can think of that can be helpful or useful to the parent and their child, feel free to drop it here. We also have a resource library, and what you can do here is upload evidence-based resources that parents can reference with the type of care that you are providing for their child. So we know, we hear it all the time as being a play-based clinic, that a lot of parents are sometimes skeptical about play-based therapy and the results that it can provide. Here is a good place to put some of the evidence that supports the work that you are doing, that you're not just playing with the child, but you are actually doing therapy and helping this child reach goals and milestones. At the bottom section here, you can generate a report for the parents. Again, we ask that you try and generate a report at least once a quarter for these children so that they can stay in the know and receive any goals, progress, milestones that they've achieved, maybe any homework or home practice that you've sent, as well as the food that they've tried. So select a date range you can generate with AI. Again, if you are going to use AI to generate a report, please read it. I cannot emphasize that enough. Like, AI is not the therapist here, you are. You can use AI as a writing tool, but please read what you are using the AI for, and then go back and make it your own, put some things in your own words, and send that report off to the child's parent. Lastly, we have the exercise tracker. Usually when kids are doing physical therapy and occupational therapy, as this child is, they will have certain exercises to maybe help with fine motor or gross motor skills or movement, all that stuff. This is pretty cool because you can come up with an exercise here. So let's say we want this child to do jumping jacks. We want them to do 10 jumping jack, let's say 3 times a day. Let's say, according to the evidence that you've looked at and all of the notes and things that you're receiving from the parent, you feel like that exercise can help them reach their goals. So let's say we want them to do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, skip Thursday and Friday, but have them do it on Saturday. So we want them to do it at least these 4 days a week, 10 jumping jacks. You can then save, and it will add the exercise to the exercise tracker for the parent. The parent can then come in and mark off what days they did the exercise. You may have to refresh the page for the exercise to show up, but you can see the jumping jacks exercise that I put in here earlier. So 10 jumping jacks 3 times a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So you can always come in here and change things around if you made a mistake. But notice how you cannot click these days off. That's because this is homework. The parent is the one responsible for making sure that their child is doing the exercises they need to. That's it for the Village Path application. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to your supervisor or any of the administration staff at Children in Motion, and we will be happy to help you. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And remember, if you ever need to watch this video again, you can click the Watch Tour button at the top. We know that it takes a village to help a child achieve their goals, and we are so grateful that you are a part of that village.